Hello, guys. How are you? I just thought I'd take a break. I'm actually paring down my closet. I'm in sort of a minimalist. Oh, hello, guys. I'm actually paring down my closet, just my whole house. My son and I, we are going through. I'm doing more of a minimalist. I think together we are decluttering. He has his own method and what he's doing, but I'm trying to get to more of a minimalist lifestyle. So I apologize for uh, the items in the back. I'm trying to figure out which things are going to be donated, sold, or if I'm going to try to organize it somewhere. So this story time, that's what it is, just me taking a break. He's been really busy the last month or the last 2 months. Ever since like the end of March, it's been kind of really hectic in my life. But I'm taking a break, just trying to clean, clear things, record, but I thought I would talk to some women or men out there that are in relationships and you find yourself, and maybe you're in an extended period of time. So for me, like I told you, my last relationship, when I was engaged, I was in that relationship almost 6 years. One, I would encourage someone not to give anyone that time unless you're on the same page, unless you guys agree on things. But if you're wanting something more, or that you all are wanting something different, I would say, depending on your age, you can reach out to me too. I'll leave my email for this channel. I would really, if you're a Christian or if you have your religious faith, I really would want you to try to adhere to that, because a lot of times I think we think that the faiths that we believe is like old fogey or whatever. But once I started getting into the word, and I'll talk about a class I took with my ex fiance, a premarital class, you'll start to see that the wisdom in the principles that they're teaching. I can at least speak for the Holy Bible. There's so much wisdom as far as like your partner, your mate, just also guidance for how you can be a godly or Christian man or woman of God in a single status and in a married status, and also what courtship is. So anyways, not going to get into all that right now, but the story time is I felt like my relationship was like a world at first. Again, we'll talk about that. But I felt like it was a whirlwind, like romance. As you all can see, it doesn't help that I tend to view the world through very rose tinted glasses. But he was tall, dark, and handsome. But again, side note, don't really care about that. Boom. He could talk. He knew he loved God. He was from a family that was raised in the church. His father was a pastor. His grandpa was a deacon or something in the church. He said the most sweetest, kind things. I don't want to have sex until I'm married. I'm looking for my wife. Now, all of you guys out there that are experiencing dating, I think you all are like, Paula, really? But I didn't know. I was just like, I put everything I want. I'm putting all my cards on the table. La 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 la. So he was here in DC. He got stationed to Hawaii. And he paid for me to come out. He paid for me and my son to come out many times. Life is good. We're going to get married. Then he got called to deployment in Afghanistan. Oh no. And it was just, you're in my will. If anything happens to you, I want you and your son to be taken care of. Of course, my mom is first, and because the fact that he loved his mom. Oh wow. Came from two-parent household, so for him that's normal. Like, that's, I told you guys how I was raised. I like people that you want to kind of, you're not trying to cause any foolishness. And there were a lot of signs even up to this point. Again, remember, I'm looking through rose tinted glasses. And I pinned him while he was deployed. I did old school notes, and I would put, nice smelling perfume on it. And I don't know, I tried to talk to him as much as I can while he was overseas. It wasn't a day go by that I didn't contact him some kind of way. Okay. He gets back from deployment. And I'm like, who is this guy? And some people can attribute to, you can attribute to that he was deployed and he just went to war. No. things start to show way before that. I could probably tell you stories when that first year, that first 8 months. I have a story time for that. But let's just stick to when someone tells you they want to go on a break. I'm trying to just lead up. Y'all know I'm long winded. I'm trying to give y'all the background. He goes, there's a lot of signs. I'll get into them later. That could be each video for each sign. He comes get back to DC. And he's like, oh, we normally get priority after we go to deployment. So I'm going to ask to kind of get back to the DMV area. Great, that we can plan our lives, you know. Now, I will say this. I'm going to give a disclaimer, if that's the right word. I did join this church that I really, it's been a blessing in my son's life, in our lives. When right around the time, like probably when he was in Hawaii, like that, so I did join. So a year I was at another church, but this church is like very adamant about getting yourself into the Word, doing discipleships, which I'm too scared. I haven't done that. When God doesn't give us a spirit of fear, but I haven't done that. But taking classes, getting that in before the classes, it's like every class talks about a relationship with God. So really, the mindset that I was in and the maturity that I was in, I was like, why do you keep talking about this? Like, I want to learn X, Y, and Z. So some of the classes that I took before I had that like spiritual maturity was how to tame the tongue. And I like school anyway, but I like for if somebody knows the formula for something, let me know. So I wasn't really like looking at the scriptures, where did they get that? I was just like, what do I need to do? How to tame the tongue. When I dealt with the depression, the cheating, overcoming betrayal, different. They just have money management. Every type of class had class for kids, teenagers, women, men, older people, everything. They got a class to teach you how to use a computer, how to do web design, and a lot of classes are free or like $5 or $20 for like the materials. Very, I'm not trying to do a foot approval if you're in the DMV, but that church really is a teaching church. So anywho, he's back from deployment. Thank God he came home safely. And we were trying to talk about our future. Every time, even before then, I tried to talk about our future. I couldn't nail it down. It's like, oh, we, about to deploy. We'll talk about it. I just trying to survive. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And so the years started, the months, the weeks, the months, the years. And I wanted to be that faithful girlfriend, that faithful fiance. We doing this. So this is what happened. He came back and he lived with us for 2 weeks before he found a place. Because I was thrown off, even though he knew my son, I didn't really. So even though he knew my son, I didn't really, and we had been together for a while, I didn't feel comfortable with him coming back to live with us. And a lot of people could say, well, that's kind of crazy. Like he would have to spend money, but my son's father never lived with me and my son. So I was just really kind of uncomfortable with that. I'm like, this is an opportunity for us to, I didn't really know about like spiritual. I didn't understand like God. If you ask him, he will tell you about like if this person is the right person for you. I wasn't that mature yet. But a friend of mine from years ago had said he took So You Think You Want to Get Married, which is the first like premarital class at my church. I think there's 3 or 2 or 3, but that's the first one. And he had touted about years prior. So I was like, man, we should take that class because I don't know a successful marriage other than my grandparents, and I love them. God rest my grandma's soul. But a lot of things, I think the basics they got right, but some other things there was a lot of dysfunction. So I didn't know anyone who had like a successful marriage. So he was like, oh yeah, like we're trying to build our house, let's get all of our stuff together. And a lot of these things, people, you need to talk about before you get to the point. Before you give someone 6 years, before you get to that point, you need to talk about what's your money language. Are you a spender? Are you a saver? Are you a little bit of both? What do you believe? Are you Christian? Are you Muslim? Are you Jewish? Are you atheist? Are you agnostic? Do you believe in, do you want kids? How many kids? Do you believe in discipline? I know this seems crazy. I don't know what people are doing on dates, but I'm not saying you gotta like have a list out there. There's a way to do things, but those things need to come out. What are some things you struggle with? And again, we'll talk about that at a later date about when I met my ex-fiance in a book, and they had all these wonderful questions, and I asked them just almost to kind of check the list, but I wasn't really listening. Because people will tell you, they will tell you sort of what their issues are. And we all have issues. What we're trying to figure out is if the person's issues and your issues, will they clash, or you can still kind of get through those things and grow together and love each other. So these issues, we all have issues. What issues are your non-negotiables, and what issues are things you can work with? So anyways, we got through that 2 weeks, and guys, girls, that 2 weeks. And of course I couldn't just put them out in the street, even though if anyone knows in the military, they do give you a stipend to be at a hotel or something like that. But I couldn't do that. I was just like, that's fine. And he had to have a place to mail his stuff back. Again, military, they give you options, but I'm his fiance, so why not? So I want y'all to remember that for later videos. That 2 weeks, it threw me and my son off for a lot of reasons. This is another thing. I didn't realize, I don't think I am like a neat freak or anything like that, but because of the way I grew up, I don't like a lot of things. I'm pretty much a minimalist. So just based on my defense of how I grew up, I like to have a clean bathroom, a clean kitchen. My bathroom sometimes, not the toilet, but like the mirror and stuff, that may kind of take a beating every now and again. But for the most part, we're on like a regular schedule. My son for the bathroom and the kitchen. And I like to do my dishes and have it clear and every night. So I have a little routine. So that 2 weeks, guys, I'll talk about that later. Woo, that was rough. That should have been a sign right there. It was just, we literally, it almost ended our relationship. And at that point, we hadn't had anything really serious, but I don't know if I can say that. So we started going to church, and he's like, oh, I like, Pastor Jenkins. He's very critical, and he's very, very, very critical. So sometimes I think he's in his mind, he's thinking about opposition or opposing argument instead of listening to what is being said. So there's a lot of things he didn't like Pastor Jenkins. If anyone looks at this style, I'll leave a link because he's hilarious. He's from DC. We're from the DMV. We are like real down to earth. And if you're looking for a church that's a little bit more, less of that, like Dr. Charles Stanley is an awesome choice. Joel Osteen. I mean, there's a lot of people, famous and not famous, that probably just find the pastor or that fits your style, or church or mosque or synagogue that fits your style. So we would kind of go back and forth about that. I'm like, let's don't worry about the messenger. The message is the most important thing, that you get it. So I was coming to, again, and I want y'all to pay attention as I go into other videos, like, especially for those that are Christian, like, as you start to move in a direction, or you make a declaration, I'm gonna stop smoking, or I'm not gonna have premarital sex, or this, that, and the third, you're going to start to get a lot of attention from the opposite sex or whoever you're attracted to. You're going to start to see billboards and signs of cigarettes. Your friends are going to be like, oh, let's go do hookah. Like, let's do e-cigarettes. You're going to start to say, I just made the declaration. I want to like mind my money. That's what I'm going through right now. I want to manage my money according to God's principles. Your car break down. The house falls apart. All this time, you kind of was just doing your own thing. But when you make that declaration that you want to do something according to your belief system, again, according to follow God's principles that he laid out for us. So we have that choice of whether are we going to fall into it or we going to pass the test. Because life is tests and trials. So I'm sad to say, sorry to report, I didn't pass the test. I passed a lot of tests, but I definitely passed that test. I didn't pass that test. Because at that time, I could have been right where I am spiritually. I could have been at that point and surpassed that point. Because I was like, the Bible, the page start to open. And then distractions. Here we go. Distractions came. And I didn't pass the test, guys. And some of you guys may have not passed the test, or you've seen that you are being distracted on purpose, because you're starting to make a declaration and then you start just like, what's going on? Anywho, so we started going to church. He's like, I like that church. And there's one thing that they hold you accountable at the church. There's like, there's 3 classes you have to take. They're free, but you have to take before you can do the right hand of fellowship. I don't know. They do like this, like, you're part of our family, like a formal thing, I think on the communion or something, once you do. And I remember I tried to get over, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, because I'm still in that whole situation. I was like, I'm a single mom, trying to figure it out. My son, because I had my son every other weekend, so we couldn't take our 3 classes together. And so I love how they listen to the sob stories. They say, okay, baby, okay. If it takes you years to complete your 3 classes, you're going to complete them 3 classes. And I think now they give options for people like a DVD, like, because they understand people overseas and they travel. But when I was mad in my, I'm not going to lie, maybe a few curse words went off in my head. I ain't saying them to the people. But I love that part about the church. Like, when I mean real, they just real. And it hurts because we want church. We want people to make us feel good about our decisions. And I love what I'm learning now. They're going to encourage as much as possible for us to follow the doctrine, at least their interpretation of it. And they're going to encourage that. They're not going to chastise you. They're not going to judge you, whatever your decisions you make, but they speak that sort of love and that truth. So my sob story didn't work. So it took my son quite a while, said both of us, because I had finished my courses, and then it took him a little longer because every other weekend we were just, it was like Sunday and Wednesday, I think, were the days of the classes. So it was just, he was in sports and stuff. I couldn't make it work. And I just loved it. They were like, no, you got to take the 3 classes. It doesn't have to be in succession or sequential, but you'll be fine. I was just like, I was hoping they could like sign off. I don't know. Sorry, I got sidetracked. So we were going to church, and, my ex-fiance and I, and he ended up moving around the White Marsh area. And I'm in there for me. So it was a distance, but it wasn't too bad at all. And my son and I would go up there. That was my whole point. Like, that 2 weeks had really scared me because he would have like liquor. He was living like a bachelor. And he was going, and I'm throwing him a bone too, because I don't think he had ever lived with anyone. Oh, he did. His other relationship was, now we'll talk about that. He did live with someone, and he said he lived with them for 2 days. That didn't make sense to me. But I'm telling you, you have to listen to people. Why would you just have to move in with your girlfriend and you only stay there for 2 days? What doesn't this, is it keep, another video, I'll explain that. I didn't think anything of it. But I mean, literally, like, argued those 2 weeks. But then got through that. He went to White Marsh area. I'm still in Fort Meade area or whatever. You're familiar with Maryland. And so we were going to church, and we were on a routine. Like, my son and I would go up to see him. We would spend a whole weekend, do a lot of fun things. Like, there's a lot of state parks. There's a lot of stuff to do in Maryland. Go see the movies. Go just walk around. Just had a good time. He had a really nice apartment or complex where they did a lot of things. So we do that. Then he would come down here, and we would go work out. And we were just, it's like, really, oh man. It's really good. Now, we had a lot of scrapes and bumps, and I'll talk about that. But, like, for the most part, I'm like, okay, we're growing. So, I'm waiting, where that ring come, what's up with the ring? So, of course, I'm like, marriage. I really wanted, at that time, like, I want to have kids. I want to have more kids. I'm so blessed to have the one I have, and I want to have more kids. So, we go to church, and he would find these restaurants. So, he was really, really good at finding dates and, try different foods and stuff like that. So one Sunday we went to church, and the plan was for us to go to church, and we were going to drive back up to where he lived. We were going to go to the harbor and go to this crab place he had found, and because we love seafood. And then I was going to take an overnight bag, and I would just drive down. At the time I worked in DC, and I would just drive back on the following day, which would be Monday, to go to work and to, I didn't have my son Eric that weekend, and So it was a really great sermon, and we were waiting in the parking lot. So my church is a large church, so it takes some time. Don't be in a rush if you come there, if you ever visit. Just love on some people, read the scriptures, just take a nap. So we were just sitting in the car, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I got to do this. I got some load of laundry, just plans, He turns and he looks at me, and he used to call me this name that I hate. One day I'll tell you guys, but I hate it from the very first time he called me. He tried to make it a little better as a town, and I still hated that. And my friends was like, "Why would you? That's a horrible nickname." I was like, "I know. Keep this in mind too." And he knew I hated it. I hate it. So he looks at me because I'm driving. He's sitting in the passenger seat. He's like, he calls me my nickname. He's like, I think we should take a break. And so I need y'all to understand. So I need you guys to understand, young men, young women, older men, and older women, if you find yourself in this. But I want you to understand where my mind was and the lack of experience, and I wasn't learning about the dating streets and the different games and the foolery. Like, I thought I had reached, like, I'm be honest with you, I knew, especially when I went to school and I switched from computer science to political science and talk about class systems and, education and the middle class, that being important. I never grew up middle class, but I saw a difference with my son's father, how his family dynamics, and not that it was perfect, but just it was a difference of how to handle things. They didn't handle things with violence and you're dead to me type of things. It was like, they kind of like talk, they still argue, but it's like talk through things. So again, my ex-fiance is from middle class, 2-parent home. I'm like, wow, and they black? I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but I was just like, so my expectations, I think I put it on a pedestal and I let things pass because I was like, okay, we're in our 30s, right at that time we weren't, like, early 30s, like, people aren't playing games. So he had already been like, he would have been honest about his horse ways, or him playing the field, rather. I shouldn't say horse ways, but playing the field and different things, different women. And I'm thinking, we just got through Afghanistan. Like, we just got through a deployment. Like, we're at a different point. So when he said, I think we should take a break, I thought he meant, let's not go to the restaurant in Baltimore. Let's just, like, because every time I was seeing, we would eat out a lot. I thought he was talking about something. I don't know what I thought he was talking about. I was like, oh yeah, we don't have to go to Baltimore. Do you have your stuff? You have your uniform? Because he had to get up early. Anybody that's active duty do PT, or he had himself on a regiment. I was like, oh, okay. We can just stay down here. There's a lot of stuff. There's Carolina Kitchen. We could go to the city, maybe Busboy and Poets, or I don't know. I can cook something. There's a local Cameron seafood around the place. Like, it's not a big deal. And he was like, no, you're not understanding me. He said the nickname that I hated. He said, I think in our relationship, we need to take a break. And I was like, listen, guys. I guess that I had never really watched Friends like that. But, I would see, certain episodes about Rachel and the blackhead guy with the funny face, about we were on a break. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really contextually, like, I don't really understand the context of that. I can get a lot based on the few episodes I saw, but I didn't watch it in succession. I wasn't like, I discovered Seinfeld and Friends much later, because I didn't watch that. So I'm like, what do you mean? I was trying to get clarification. And that's when it was just literally like my whole face. And to this day, I can still see him like a smiling. It was a smile. It wasn't really sad because I'm crying. I'm like, what is that? So then I was trying to where is this coming from? Oh, it's just a lot going on. I just got back from deployment and this, that, and the third. I'm like, but we're supposed to be at the point where we're planning things. Like, we're planning our lives, our future. Like, what do you mean a break? So this is my analytical side kicking in. I'm like, well, what does that mean? And he's like, it doesn't really mean anything. He would always keep calling that nickname I had. And it just means this. I just need a break. I need to get myself together. I need to get myself on PT. I need to do this. I'm like, well, you need to do, that's what you got to do the rest of your military career, the rest of your life. Like, why do you need a break? And I said, with all women, mostly women, but some guys, if you're out there, hi. Are you seeing someone else? Are you interested in someone else? Do you not love me anymore? Do you not care? I'm going down that route. And he was just like, no, it's not anything like that. So this is the analytical. Y'all could learn a lot about me. So I go into, what's the term? What is this? How long is the break? So when are we seeing other people? Because technically we're on a break. So shouldn't we have to sit down? Like, what are we saying? Like, we had keys to each other's homes. Like, what do I have to call now? Like, before I just come over, I'm just sitting there. It was just like, what is going on? What do you mean? So he was just like, no, you're just taking it too serious. I'm like, no, I'm not. I said, I was crazy. I said, my eggs are drying up. I want more kids. Like, we've been together. It's like, at the time it was like 4 years, 4.5 years. I'm like, why would I invest all this time and it's coming out of left field? And we had did counseling, and he picked this place in Georgetown, which again was the arm and leg for both of us. And I think I know the reason why he picked the place in Georgetown. Never finished it. Not that I didn't want to finish. He would never. He did it through the Army, so he would never schedule the counseling. So we ended up not finishing it. And they're trying to understand this break. So I was like, I just don't. And I think we drove and met for some reason. No, I think maybe he did drive down to my place. Because at first I was thinking maybe he drove back from the church. So no, we managed to make it back to my house. Because I was just really distraught, like literally. So we get to my place. He's like, it's going to be okay. And we're good. And I'm like, no, we're not good. Because you refused to answer any of the questions I asked about what does a break mean. Does that mean you can see other people? Does that mean you can, what does that mean? How long is this break for? That was a big, I was like, I don't get how long, and I need time to myself. I'm like, you should have did that before you get into a relationship, a long-term relationship. That was always, marriage was the end, not even the end goal, which I'm learning. Marriage isn't the end goal. That's a part of your journey. And your end goal is the end of life and, the afterlife. But marriage isn't your end goal. Marriage is a milestone in a relationship with someone who you're making a decision that you're going to do life together. Like you're going to do life together. So I'm sitting there, I'm hurt. And see, that's what I said. I've only had 2 relationships. Probably it's true because I get my feelings all into it. So I call who I consider, I used to say best friend. Now I say angel. But I just call someone who knows, she's the closest person as far as, knowing me and just loving me. I call her and I say, and I wasn't online at this point. So I still wasn't really on YouTube or definitely social media. I think I just got on Facebook. And I called her and I said, well, what does it mean when a guy says this? So she proceeded to tell me, she wanted to know more of the context. And I wouldn't give it to her. It's like, no, just tell me because you have experience, so you know what to tell me. So she proceeded to give me all these things, what it meant. And I immediately shut down. I was like, she's like, do you want me to come over? I'm like, no, I want to be left alone. I shut my blinds and I just stayed to myself. And then I got on the internet and started doing research. So I'm going to tell you some of the research and what she said it means when someone, particularly a guy, says they want to break. This is for guys who are listening to me as well, or people that are in the LGBTQ community as well. There's people. Normally when someone says they want to break, they are interested in someone else. They have either already started talking to that other person or they are what we consider cheating. So we can get into another video about what's cheating. So that is really the number one thing. Someone else have caught their fancy. So they either want to explore that, they're already in the middle of exploring that. And so they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. So they're trying to keep you and then they're trying to keep the other person and almost like decide. Or they don't want to be alone, so they're trying to build up that new relationship, and then they're trying to extinguish the current relationship, which they never really extinguish. They like to always keep it open, but that goes into what I believe my ex to have had. I believe he has narcissistic personality disorder, but there's a reason why they do that. They never want to be. They want to always have that supply. And so they kind of make sure their hooks are into you emotionally, make sure that they got in your heart and they made you believe all these things. They really have no feelings. Because if a person, this is what I tell my son now that he's dating, when a person truly loves you, romantic love, and love in general, they love you, they are always looking out for your best interest as well. So if they are truly confused, they go to you and they say, I am truly confused. I do not want you wasting your time. but I need to take a break to see if this relationship is for me. Please don't communicate with me. And if I come to the conclusion that you're the one for me and I reach back out to you and you're ready, then thank you. If I come to the conclusion that you're the one for me and I reach back to you, you've moved on, that's on me. But I do not want you wasting your time, because this is your life as well. You have a life and I have a life. That's when a person really loves you. When they're able to not be selfish and they're still true to themselves, but they're not playing around. And they can get into the details. I met someone else. That person makes me feel this way. I'm really not sure. They can and they don't have to, but they are coming to you and giving you the decision and telling you all of the things out on the table. So that's one. Two, they really are they're just selfish. They just want to do them. They don't want to be responsible. They don't want to be accountable. Three, there are some holidays that are coming up. So if you're dating someone like that and around the holidays, they seem to there are always issues with your relationship. You should really ask yourself, is that the relationship that you want to be in? Because if people are manufacturing issues just so they don't have to, buy you a balloon or a gift for a particular holiday, you really need to figure that out. Also, they're not feeling you like you're feeling them. Is that plain and simple? Or they play games, or they have some sort of disorder. And any of those things, promise me, I want you all to consider this. I can't tell you guys what to do, but if someone comes to you, and I know the natural thing is going to be to do what I did. It's going to try to ask, why am I not good enough? Do you not love me? What's wrong? But I'm asking you this. I am asking you, and I'll start crying because it was really important to me. That one, I don't care if I have one person. I don't care the viewership or whatever. It's nice that people view, but I know I'm supposed to help someone as far as their, fitness and wellness journey, which is on my other channel, and also for someone out there in relationships that are feeling used and abused, or they themselves aren't learning and how to maneuver and navigate. I need you to do this, and I know it's going to be hard. I need you to not ask questions. I don't need you to inquire why that person needs a break from you or from the relationship. And I need you to cut all contact. I know what I'm asking is going to be challenging. So I leave my email if you need an assistance or just someone to talk to or to chat with, email or something. But I need you to do this because you value yourself. Anyone who truly loves you is not going to do that. And if they really honestly need to break, they're going to do it in a way where it just still shows their love for you, that they value that you have dreams and goals and aspirations. So promise me, if a person says, hey, I think we should take a break. I really was clueless. I didn't know what that meant. I want your reply to be, okay. And I want you to terminate any connections on social media, unfollow them, whatever you all call, unsubscribe to them, and cancel them out your phone. And I want you to get yourself into some counseling, either pastoral, secular, regular counseling, if you need it, or just move on. Just focus on your dreams, your aspirations, what you are destined to be. So just promise me you'll consider that. And if I could just show you how I love, and I'm pretty sure whoever's watching me resonates, you love this way. It's like that person just, you have these dreams and these visions, and if it's not reciprocated and that person doesn't share that, then that person isn't the one for you. And I don't want you to waste your time. Time is more than money. You get one life on this earth, just one. And what you do with that can just make all the difference. And I just want you guys to continue to watch this channel. Share, subscribe, comment, share your stories. We're helping each other. But if someone, again, I'm going to foot stomp this. Anyone in the military, 3 stomp, 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 stomp. I want a break. I'll even say this. I want a divorce. Now, that's touching on another area. I'm gonna leave that alone. But definitely, I want to break. I want to break my relationship. I want your reply to be okay. Bye, guys. Like, share, subscribe.